Good morning. Thanks for watching and welcome. I'm John Ahmann. I'm president and CEO of the Westside Future Fund. Thank you. This is, for watching, this is our 37th, hard to believe, 37th virtual Transform Westside Summit. It's our last one for the holidays. Hope you're planning to have a great holidays.
Absolutely.
And we're looking forward. We're obviously watching this latest variant like I know a lot of folks are, but we're planning right now to be back in person in January in 2022. We're really hoping for that because we miss being around folks here at the gathering spot. We're coming to you live today. But you want to tell a little bit about our show today, Benjamin?
Absolutely. 'Tis the season, Westside. We have made it finally to this point in the year where 2021 is almost over. We're looking to close the season out strong. My name is Benjamin Earley. Again, welcome to the final Transform Westside Summit of 2021. Absolutely. Today's show, we're honored to have our special guests, newly elected council members for Atlanta's Districts 3 and 4, Byron, Amos, and Jason Dozier. We're honored to have our guests here today, and we'll be hearing from them later on today.
Absolutely. My name is Ebony Ford. I'd like to add my welcome to our, again, 37th virtual Transform Westside Summit. And again, looking forward to seeing you guys in person next year if everything works out with the coronavirus. I myself personally am boosted. So I encourage everyone to go ahead and get your booster. If you're not vaccinated, go ahead and get your vaccination. Just get it done. Let's have a good holiday. Let's move into the new year and kind of get back to what they're calling our new normal. And I also am personally very excited to hear from our council members-elects today. I live in English Avenue, and so Mr. Byron Amos is my representative. So I'm very excited, very, very excited personally to hear the panel today.
All right, great. So I think we're going to talk a little bit about our show bulletins. You want to go through that?
Absolutely, yes. So we do have our bulletin for every summit. We do issue a new bulletin. This is available on our website, westsidefuturefund.org. I think it is on the homepage, obviously, and then just download your PDF version. And while you are there, please take a look at our slides for our board of directors. Our 2021 board of directors are a very dedicated team that assists with giving our mission statement for the Westside Future Fund. And that is to create a community that Dr. King would be proud to call home.
And they brought it up for us, Ebony.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I probably was a little bit ahead of schedule there. And again, the Board of Directors 2021, beautiful Board of Directors. We would like to mention that this is an all-volunteer board. So these people, aside from their lives, their children, their homes, their careers, their businesses that they're running, they still do help to carry out the vision of Westside Future Fund. And also, we do have our dedicated team of Westside Future Fund employees that are also working diligently every day out here to, again, fulfill our mission at Westside Future Fund, which, again, to create a community Dr. King would be proud to call home.
All right, you did that great for us. All right, Benjamin.
Right. It's time for us to get connected, folks. You know where we are. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to all of our content. We have important information that is always shared here at the summit. So in order for us to help continue spreading the word throughout our community to benefit the people of the community, we've got to share this information. So go ahead and share this stuff as you see fit. Also, while we at it, go ahead and drop a nice "'Tis the Season's" greeting in the comment section. You feel me? Look, whether you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, anything in between, man, we are happy to celebrate with you and engage with you. Let us know in the comment section what you plan to do special for this year's season, of giving, and how you plan to bring in the new year, hopefully with your family and loved ones and everybody in good health and good condition.
Absolutely. Also, and I forgot to mention, if you're on the westsidefuturefund.org website, please go ahead and register. We are giving away a gift card today. Goodwill of North Georgia is giving away a gift card, and so is Home Depot Foundation. These Goodwill of North Georgia puts people to work. That's what they do. They have awesome stores with awesome merchandise, but behind that, I don't think people really realize that Goodwill's main mission is to put people to work.
Yes.
And they have done that, I think, 65,000 people and counting, which is kind of mind-blowing. And then also Home Depot Foundation has invested millions of dollars into the revitalization of the West Side. So these two organizations are also giving something away again today to our viewers. So westsidefuturefund.org, event spotlight, RSVP, put your information on there by 8:15 and be entered into the drawing.
And at the end of the show, if they enter in now, we'll draw out those two names.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will for the gift card. Yes, sorry about that, John. Thank you. John always keeps me on my toes. Yeah, so you're entering for a gift card and have your chances of being entered into that drawing.
Well, John, I think it's about time for us to get to the devotion. We got an exciting devotion today delivered by Miss Yolanda Owens, owner of Iwi Fresh Garden Day Spa. She's amazing. Shout out to Miss Yolanda Owens for doing today's devotion. John, you want to take the devotional statement?
No, we're great. And just to kind of tee it up, if you're happen to be a first-time viewer, we always begin our Transform Westside Summits with a devotion. We kind of ground the inspiration for the devotion in the story of Nehemiah from the Old Testament, which is the story of the cupbearer to the king going back to Jerusalem and rebuilding the city. So it's a story about both what gets done to rebuild the city, but the values in rebuilding that city. And so we always try to draw from that, and we really are excited for our devotions. We sometimes have ministers, but we're often, like we are today, have folks from the community that can speak from their heart. And today we do have the founder of Iwi Fresh in Castleberry, and her full bio, Yolanda Owens, her full bio is in our bulletin. Hopefully you can pull off our website. But a couple of points that I thought were really great to know is that she started this as a true entrepreneur. She took money out of her retirement account. Wow. She took money out of her retirement account to start her business, and she started it in a garage, mixing juices and other products, which tells you her passion for what she's doing to go that hard. And in 2010, she opened up 2,500 square Iwi Fresh farm to skin spa. So this is a great actually gift idea too. If you're looking for things for your family, I learned that Jason's wife, our guest on the show just a bit, is a big customer of Iwi Fresh. So we're delighted, to have her. She, on behalf of the Westside Future, we really appreciate Yolanda. She's been really engaged with the work of the Westside Revitalization, and been a great partner and taught us a lot at the Westside Future Fund. So thank you. So this is a pre-recorded devotion. We're going to bring on in a second, but before I do that, we always read a devotion statement, to kind of ground it. So I'm going to read that now. It's become our tradition to begin our meetings with a positive, inspirational message from a member of our community. Recognizing that many in our community are driven by their spiritual faith to participate in the Westside Revitalization effort, the time at the beginning of our meetings is an opportunity to share various inspirational reflections. While the speakers may articulate their personal faith, it's meant to be inclusive, inspiring, and meaningful, with the story of Nehemiah as our guide. So we'll be back live with our guests after this great devotional message from Yolanda. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I am Yolanda Owens, and I'm the founder and CEO of Iwi Fresh Farm to Skin Spa, which is located in Councilmember-Elect in Atlanta, Georgia, on the west side. I'm actually a native of Atlanta and a native of the west side. And I'm here today to give a devotion on the book of Nehemiah. And the title that I'm calling this is What Nehemiah Teaches Us About Rebuilding Our Spiritual Walls through and during COVID-19, through this pandemic. How do we rebuild our spiritual walls through COVID-19, and using some examples from Nehemiah? This pandemic has just caused a disruption to our society. It's caused an impact to our communities, to our personal lives, to the hospitals, to the churches, to our schools, our education. I mean, a lot of us have lost loved ones through this whole pandemic. I mean, we watch the news and we see the numbers rising, which causes an impact to our mental health. So it really has been a global economic impact that has hit us that some of us were just not prepared for. And so during this pandemic, we probably have asked ourselves questions. I know I've asked these questions like, how do I rebuild? Can I rebuild? What are the steps to rebuild? How long will it take me to rebuild? So, in the book of Nehemiah, there are so many examples that we can use to help us to rebuild our spiritual walls through this whole pandemic. So, Nehemiah really didn't face a pandemic, but they faced a disaster. The Babylons came in and they destroyed the walls of Jerusalem. They actually burnt a fire at the gate, burned it down. So it was a disaster. Lives were destroyed in Jerusalem. The walls were crumbled. They were destroyed. So that is very compatible to a disaster of the pandemic of what we are facing today. So, for me, when I looked at the book of Nehemiah, I said there's so many examples here, but what stood out to me the most on steps that we can use to help us to rebuild our spiritual walls during COVID are 7 steps that I saw. The first one was he totally trusted God. And for me, that is the critical step. We have to trust and we have to believe in God first before we can even think about rebuilding our spiritual walls. And that was something that Nehemiah did. He totally trusted God to guide him and lead him on to listen to his calling on what he needed to do to go out and rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. 2, he looked within himself. He looked within himself. He had so much compassion for the people. He was so concerned with deep compassion for the people. And for us, I think it's a time where we have to look outside of ourselves during this time. We have to think about our loved ones, or think about our employees, our co-workers, our neighbors, the people in community, our friends. We have to reach out and look and pay attention to them and see if they need our help and how we can help them, during this time. Because a lot of people are suffering, but we need to pay attention. So we need to look outside of ourselves. And that's something that Nehemiah did. He looked outside of himself. 3, he prayed and he fasted. He prayed and he fasted. And to me, that is so important. During this time, we must pray. We must pray, and we must pray to God on what the direction is that he wants for us or lead us during this pandemic. And fasting, being able to sacrifice, being able to give something up so that you can stay focused, so it can clear your mental palate, your mental mind. So he prayed and he fasted. Number 4 would be he did not give up. He didn't give up. He waited and he prayed. He prayed and he waited. He waited. He did not go ahead of God. He waited to get direction from God, and he never gave up. During this time, we can't give up. We have to keep going. We have to push through, because there's so many greatness and good things that are coming out of this COVID. Some things are really happening that is shifting us into a better space. So we have to stay and weather the course and not give up. Number 5, he examined himself. He asked God, how do you want to use me? What do I need to do to clean up within myself to be used, to be able to go out and rebuild these walls of Jerusalem? What do I need to do to fix myself? What is my alignment? Do I need to be in alignment with myself? So we must get in alignment with our source energy. We must get in alignment with our source energy and ask God, be willing to ask God, what is it that I need to do to fix myself or to change within myself so that I can be a better vessel to go out and help rebuild my spiritual wall. And number 6, he was in silence. He was still. He was in silence for years. He was just in silence, and he was getting direction from God. And there's so much power in silence. I think during this COVID-19, it's forced us to be still, to stop being so busy and moving. And so now with this silence, it's allowing us to hear God's word clearly and knowing what our directions are and where he wants us to move. So silence is powerful. We don't always have to be doing. So that's something that I learned through Nehemiah. And number 7, renewing, pivot, refreshing. That is the biggest thing that I think that is coming out of this COVID, is that it's a time to renew. It's a time to pivot. You might want to change some new ideals, strategies in your business. You might change your hair. You might even change relationships. You may change jobs. You have new ideals. Your thinking process is different. So it's a time to refresh and renew and pivot during these times. So those were the 7 things that stood out to me during the book of Nehemiah on how we can use these examples to rebuild our spiritual walls for ourselves during this time of pandemic. You know, one of the things that I always stick to is that whatever God has created for us, no man can separate. So I always carry that with me. So no matter what is going on, there's nothing that we can't overcome. So I leave you with these 7 principles from Nehemiah to help you build your spiritual wall during this time of this pandemic. Thank you.
Wow, Yolanda, if you're watching, thank you for that, devotion, so well thought out devotion. It was really, really true. The things that really spoke to me, especially after feeling really, hunkered down the last couple of years and lots of challenges, is the to rebuild and to focus on. And I really like the point about, trust, because that's one thing. A lot of different things have happened the last couple of years, and I think one of those things has been a real erosion of community trust for whatever set of reasons, without and kind of having that foundational to rebuild that trust. Sorry about that, looking at the wrong camera. Rebuild that foundational trust, to look to God, and also to be practicing compassion, especially when it's hard in times like these, to practice that compassion. So thank you for that devotion. And if we are at the gathering spot with the room full, which we hope it will be in 2022, when we finish our devotion, this is the time we would then turn to the audience to build that community, ask everyone to stand up, give their name and a little bit about where they're from. And we really missed that part but we want to continue to do it. Benjamin's going to lead us through our virtual check-in.
Right, so the germ-free version of that is we just have everybody check in the comment section below the videos. Drop a comment to let us know where you're coming from this morning, where you're watching from. If you got family watching with you, we hope that you do. How you plan to celebrate the holidays, just check in with us. We're happy to engage with you all.
And you're watching, so you're going to be able to tell us who's watching. I was just
going to say, John, we got some folks already tuning in and commenting.
It's good to know that people are out there watching. There's a nervous moment if nobody was there. It'd be awful. So we got people checking in.
We do have people checking in. We on YouTube, we got, let's see, Miss Cynthia Wright Blossom Gang, thank you. Patrick Daniels, thank you. Muriel Murphy, thank you. Khalifa Lee, what's up, Khalifa? So Khalifa and I go way back, like way back.
So he's not coming on to watch me.
No. He definitely isn't here to watch you, John, but appreciate you, Khalifa, for tuning in. We got Waukesha Howe, we've got all the parent Avengers, Waukesha, Sherry Belil.
Give Sherry, I know it's her birthday today.
Yeah, happy birthday, Miss Sherry. Happy birthday. Look, she got the holidays, birthday,
right.
New Year, all back to back. I see you, Miss Belil. Okay, yeah. All right, we got Sonia. Hey, Sonia, tuning in. Let's check Facebook, who we got over here. All right, we got Miss Diana Palmer Price. Thank you for tuning in. Caitlin Hammond Berringer, thank you. Who we got? San McGee, thank you for tuning in. And Chantel Hebert, excuse me, thank you for tuning in.
She's on our board of directors, so Thank you for watching.
Right, thank you all for watching. Karen Russell Rogers, JP Starr, thank you all for tuning in, man.
And I know you and I got a text wishing us well before the summit from Dan Cathy.
Right, yeah. So, Dan is one of our, core founding.
These summits really something that he really suggested and has supported. Right. And I know he'd want us to mention that on February 25th, Chick-fil-A will once again be sponsoring the Beloved Benefit.
Absolutely. And they do a lot of work. Chick-fil-A contributes so much to the revitalization effort here on the West Side, and doing it in a way where, again, we're doing it with the community, not to the community. So shout out to Dan Cathy, the entire Chick-fil-A organization.
Yeah, we always appreciate, Rodney Bullitt had the Chick-fil-A Foundation on our board too, so thank you.
Absolutely.
And we missed the Chick-fil-A breakfast here at the gathering spot. All we got is coffee this morning, but
hey man, that's all right, man. Coffee, water, and health. That's the biggest thing, right? All right. Well, I guess I'll.
So I think now the prior program we're gonna be.
We're gonna be bringing up our special guest now. We're gonna bring Ebony back up with our Congressmembers-elect Jason Dozier and Byron Amos.
Yeah. So Ebony will come on.
I'm gonna go this way.
Thank you, Benjamin. All right, Byron and Jason, thanks for coming up. Yeah, please. Someone have a sit down. So on behalf of the Westside Future Fund, want to really thank you both for being here. And I was actually talking with Jason before the program. I'm sure it's the same true for you, Byron, is that you were overwhelmed with people wanting to see you and talk to you, and you got a lot of things to do to get organized, hire a staff and everything else. So we just want to first just express our gratitude that you would give us your time this morning, because I know that you have a lot of choices with your time, so thank you.
Thank you.
But we want to use this opportunity to get to know you. So for those that are watching, their full bios are in our bulletin. But I always appreciate, how people like to talk about themselves and their stories. So maybe we'll make a first really easy question. Maybe start with you, Jason, but just to kind of, and then you, Byron. But just tell a little bit about yourself, maybe your why for running, and then the same for you, Byron.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, thank you for having us this morning. I really appreciate it. So for those of y'all who have not had an opportunity to meet me over the last year on the campaign trail, I'm Jason Dozier. I am a native of Atlanta, Georgia. I was born at what used to be Georgia Baptist Hospital. Was raised on the east side, raised in South DeKalb by a single mother. And she is really who instilled in me this value of selfless service, of public service that I live today. Went to school, actually out of state, to be a school teacher. And I love my educators. Teaching is hard. I did not end up pursuing that as a career. Came back home, worked in the warehouse for a little bit, and then I raised my right hand and joined the Army in 2006. At the height of the Iraq War, recognizing that it was very possible that I could get deployed overseas, and that's exactly what happened. I was a scout platoon leader in Iraq. I was as a staff officer in Afghanistan, and at that point is really where I learned, or where I felt that I wanted to come back home and make sure that I could do what I could to support my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia. I had visited these places that had been on this earth for 1,000 years, 2,000 years, and Atlanta's only been around for about 170 years, so we stand the test of time. So went to grad school at University of Georgia, got my master's in public administration, specialized in local government, and came back home to Atlanta to do that work, and didn't end up going working for City Hall like I thought I would. Been in the nonprofit space for the last decade, working with military veterans, helping them find jobs across the country. But my heart has been with the city and with our communities, and ended up accidentally becoming a community organizer. You show up to a couple neighborhood meetings, and they keep asking you to come back, and that is really what set me on this journey to decide to run for office, to do what I could to make sure that our communities have a voice at City Hall, our neighborhoods have a voice at City Hall, and now that I'm in this seat, I'm proud to be here, and I want to fulfill that goal to make sure that we have an honest and open and transparent government at City Hall, and I look forward to making sure that work gets fulfilled.
Well, thank you for your continued service. I mean, that's really something that raising your hand to serve at a time of obvious, danger, putting your own life at risk. So thank you.
Thank
you. Byron.
This journey for service started with me, I guess, back in the late 80s when I was SGA president at Bethune Elementary. It went through Kennedy Middle School and then Washington High School, but born and raised, still stay in Vine City. Over that journey up until now, been able to be married for 15 years, raised 4 children, all graduates. Well, one is about to be a graduate of Washington High School, so that's that legacy. But over the years, been able to be an MPU chair, Vine City Civic Association chair. I actually ran for this office against the late, great Ivory Young in 2021. A lot of people forget that. So 20 years later, this is my 3rd time running. We are here, and I say we because, like I say, over the last years, decades really, District 3 has poured so much into me. So we all take this office. We all take this oath on the 3rd. So just been, like I say, so much poured into me. Now it's time to ready to pour it back out and serve the district.
Absolutely.
Wow, so you're, a lifetime resident.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That really resonated when you said your mother instilled in you service and to your community. And that's what I'm trying to do with my son. He's 6, and I try to involve him like he's been to the summits. He actually has his own Instagram page, kind of showing him growing up in the Bluff in 2021 and beyond as things change. So I'm really trying to instill that in him as well. So that's just excellent to hear. Maybe he'll end up doing what you're doing, like something like what you're doing. And then also Vine City, that's my neighborhood. I'm in English Avenue, so that's my area. And so I've been hearing a lot about a fresh approach or a new approach with the new council members coming in. What does that what does that look like to the residents of your districts? And what does that actually mean, like a new and a fresh approach? Byron.
You know, those words have their own definition.
It's true.
Fresh, something new, something never seen before.
Yes.
And then progressive, when we talk about politics, is always another different approach, a bold approach to get something done. In District 3, those words mean something completely different.
True.
You know, our leadership have to be responsive. The city has to be responsive to the everyday needs of my residents.
Absolutely.
So that's the fresh approach, unfortunately, that I have to bring to the district. When we look at District 3, who has historically been the lowest turnout in voter participation, that has to change.
Absolutely.
And it has to start from the top.
Okay.
So voter engagement, along with crime and affordable housing and everything else that we plan to bring to the table, voter engagement and empowerment is one of the things we'll be working on as well. So that fresh, progressive approach is one of the things I'm talking about at Walk With Me Wednesday.
Yes.
You know, we was, over the last couple of months, been in the neighborhood knocking on your door asking for your vote. Every other Wednesday, my office will be closed. We will be in the neighborhood, in your face, bringing you information. That will be that fresh, progressive approach we're going to bring to where your council member, we joke about putting holes in our shoes as we walk. Well, we're going to put holes in our shoes as we walk, bringing a new sense of empowerment to the district to get involved and to empower them with information.
And I think that is very important because a lot of people, especially people in District 3, they don't feel like they have, yes, District 3, sorry about that. They don't feel like they have a voice. They don't feel like they have any power. So I think that is very, very important, like you said, to start from the top down and let the residents know they do have a voice, they do have power, and they can use it to get things done, you know, in their own community. So excellent. Jason?
Just similar to what Byron said, just being responsive is definitely something that has to happen. People need to know that their voices are heard. But I think being reflective of the community in any way, shape, and form as possible is important as well. A lot of people don't show up to neighborhood meetings, don't show up to NPU meetings. I think a lot about the fact that when decisions get made in my neighborhood meeting, you know, I love my neighbors, I love my neighborhood leadership, but when you see the same 15 to 20 people at every meeting, knowing that there's 2,000 people that live in the neighborhood, is that truly going to reflect the voice of everybody who lives in that community? And I want to meet people where they are. I want to go to the MARTA stations. I want to go to the corner stores. I want to talk about, like Byron said, walking with people to talk about the issues in a way that's going to make sense for them. A lot of people don't come to those meetings because they feel that their voice has not been heard. They're tired of filling out the surveys and voting this and voting for that and not having that vote be reflected at the NPU level or at the zoning review board level or at City Hall. And so they tune out and go about their business. A lot of people can't make it to those meetings. They're working 2 to 3 jobs. They're relying on public transportation, so it takes them a long time to even be able to get to a meeting. So let's come to the people and meet them where they are. Absolutely. One of the things that I'm very proud about during the campaign, we toured the entire district by bus. We took us 6 hours to do the whole tour, but allowed us to I already knew what it was like to have to rely on public transportation, but showing the voters that we know what it's like for them as well. Yes. And so I want to take that spirit and bring that to our office, because it's important for people to know that their voices are heard. And
absolutely.
They don't always get a chance to see their city council.
And that they can use them, and it has weight, it has power, it can move things, it can change things. So very, very important.
So for listening to both of y'all, it's clear you spend obviously a lot of time out there listening. I mean, for each of you, like, what do you think is, if you were to say kind of the one thing you heard the most about, like, is there like one thing that clearly, came up? May I start with you?
Yeah, I know that this campaign has been, across the city, has been centered around public safety, and that's.
So you heard that in your district too, public safety.
Well, that's,
yep.
But not as much as I heard the desire for safer streets through street calming, speed humps.
So these are folks that are like walking and
exactly,
in wheelchairs.
Exactly, and I have a toddler at home, and trying to navigate the city with a stroller, you start I've always known that there's some equity challenges with our transportation infrastructure, but when you actually are experiencing that in real time, you see those challenges that people are living with when you have a wheelchair, when you have when you're in a walker, when But a lot of our neighborhoods don't have crosswalks. They don't have the infrastructure that they need to get around. And we look at the data where people rely on public transportation. They don't have a car, don't have access to a car. It's in communities that don't have the infrastructure. And people are afraid to check their mail because cars go too fast.
Wow.
That's something that...
Well, that's one thing, maybe not very appreciated, because one thing is, probably learned with the Westside Future for me in the last couple of years, these neighborhoods were designed as place-based inequity. And one of those inequities was what you just spoke to. So the fact there's not the kind of transportation safety that other neighborhoods take for granted is very much a consequence of some of our past actions, unfortunately.
Exactly, and we have communities that are, they have elementary schools or middle schools where kids are trying to walk and bike to school. And if you design our streets that are going to support our most vulnerable people, our seniors and our kids, you're going to be designing streets that are safe for everyone. That's what I want to make sure.
I appreciate when I first started with Westside Fisher Fund, I would be driving around sometimes and I would see someone in a wheelchair in the street, and I'd be like, why are they in the street? But then it took a bit, then I realized that because the sidewalks were so bad, and they didn't have ramps.
Absolutely.
So they had no choice but to be in the street.
Absolutely.
So what about for you, Byron?
If anyone knows District 3, we cover it from one end to the other in the socioeconomic realm. But if we just stop and think about it, one of the things, other than, like Jason said, crime, that really came to the forefront, I summed it up as affordable living. And when
Affordable living.
Affordable living.
You got a new phrase.
I like that.
All right.
I mean, because we get so stuck on phrases.
Right.
We get stuck on affordable housing and
But
not
you're right.
realize
Affordable living.
housing has to include transportation.
Right.
It's not affordable if you live in the desert and can't get anywhere.
Right.
Very true.
Or if you have to own a car to go somewhere. So affordable living, and affordable living is just housing, not only affordable housing, but having the income to be able to live. So we must focus on job creation and better training for future jobs. And also, of course, short-term rentals. So all of that just rolls into what I call affordable living, and people being able to live in a space that they're comfortable, that they have to invest in which they have schools in which they have services in. So, a new phrase, and just understanding that we get stuck in one corner and not understanding that everything actually attaches to the other. So affordable living, being able to live comfortably in a space that you have decided to either be by yourself or raise your family in, but there should be somewhere in District 3 for everyone to live, no matter what your socioeconomic status is.
Absolutely.
So that's so affordable living would include, like you said, everyone's focused on affordable housing.
Yes.
But affordable living would also mean I can afford my transportation.
Yes.
Affordable living would mean, because for a lot of working women, affordable childcare.
Yep.
That's a big deal, right?
Big deal.
Because if you're making a job and can't afford the childcare, how does that work out?
Can't even work.
Yeah. So affordable living, I like it, Byron.
I like that.
We talk about complete streets. Let's have some complete neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Right. Well, one of the things that we're going to speak a little bit. I know you both heard, is the good news with more investment coming into the neighborhoods, but it has that unintended consequence of driving up prices. And with the land prices going up and up and up, obviously, folks who have been in the community a long time or connected community want to come back to that affordability. Often referred to as gentrification, where the indigenous population is replaced, often by majority white that is not from the community. And so one of the things we've been really working on from the Westside Future Fund, when we first did our, heard from the community doing the land use framework planning process a few years ago, was that focus on affordability. So raising funds to go out and purchase both single family and multifamily that we can then develop through Home on the West Side for folks that are connected to the community. But boy, it's moving, I think, faster than we anticipated. And especially now seeing all the development come on the West Side with Microsoft and others, really, which is great to see the investment, but on the other hand, it brings up those challenges around affordable living. So we were going to show a video a little bit about this topic. It's about a 3-minute video or so, and then we'll come back. So I think now we're ready to roll the video.
In the 1950s, the historic West Side had north of 50,000 residents that comprised this thriving mixed income community. It was that way because of segregation. When segregation ended and more affluent families, black families, had the opportunity to go to other parts of the city, those that were left were the very low-income families that have become what we now call legacy residents. And those families have been taken advantage of. Those families are the ones that are renting the slum and blighted housing. Those families are the ones that today are at risk of being displaced.
It's a very hard time for this neighborhood. Legacy residents of the West Side, they're afraid. And to be honest, they're rightfully afraid. They see all this money pouring into this neighborhood and all the construction projects and all these new buildings. I think they feel like all this money is coming in, all this activity is coming in, but it's to get them out so that other people can benefit from it. They're afraid that their voice is going to get suppressed, even more than it already has been their entire lives.
So what we see on the West Side is that this process of gentrification is rapidly occurring, particularly with the announcement of Microsoft moving in, with the opening of the Beltline on the West Side, the kind of developments that attract new faces to the neighborhood. But when they buy up properties that then make them unaffordable for the people who are currently living here, it becomes really a sense of desperation for the low-income families with few resources available to them. They then find themselves with very few choices.
Atlanta is a place of a lot of goodwill and a place of heart. Shouldn't that opportunity that many of us have had in Atlanta extend to more people?
What I find really exciting and hopeful about what the Westside Future Fund is doing is that we are really trying to address gentrification head-on in several ways. One of the ways is by helping current homeowners stay in their homes so they're not displaced by rising property taxes through our anti-displacement tax fund. There are also lots of families that are renters who are being forced out by rising rents. We've been able to acquire properties, fix them up, make them high-quality living environments at affordable rents. And we have been able to acquire single-family homes that we can make available for purchase to legacy residents, sometimes with down payment assistance if they need it. So it seems to me critical for the city and all of its residents to care about what's happening on the West Side, because these are our neighbors.
The West Side has so much as it relates to culture and history, and it is thriving and vibrant. And to see that change is not just a tear in the fabric of what the West Side is, it's a tear in the social fabric of this city. We can't allow that to happen.
All right, thanks for that video. And that, I think our viewers once again saw Ebony, and actually we met, Ebony, because Ebony participated in our anti-displacement tax fund.
Still participating.
And what's great to see, because the intended result was to ensure people that have been in the community really made up to community, right? Buying the people that have been here for a long time,
Yes.
As that tide rises, stay on the boat.
Absolutely.
And so, and got to know Ebony, and obviously become a great spokesman for what we're doing here. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Actually, I don't know if I've ever really said thank you to Westside Future Fund for finding me to do this. John literally found me as I was outside helping Jeremiah ride his bike. And he pulled up, he was on a tour and said that he had an opportunity for me, and that was like a year and a half ago. And so I'm still here, and I get a chance to sit here and talk to people like you guys, and it's just it's an amazing journey. So yes, and I do still participate in the Home on the West Side Anti-Displacement Tax Fund. I don't participate so much as I receive from it. So participate is actually the wrong word. And my taxes, if I can say so real quick, are just climbing. As we all know, every single year they're just climbing. They started out like $27 a year, and now they're like, $1,800. And that difference is being paid by Westside Future Fund, allowing me to stay in my house. I am a single mother. I don't have an unlimited income. And if it was not for that, even though I have a fixed rate mortgage, what difference does it make if you have a fixed rate mortgage if your taxes are increasing every single year? So Westside Future Fund is at this point the only reason that I'm still in my home and able to live in the city of Atlanta, where a lot of people would love to be but cannot quite afford. So thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for our plug. But we want to go back to our Councilmember-Elect because,
I can't help it.
with the, clearly affordable living, affordable housing, but would love to hear y'all's thoughts on, especially with stuff moving so fast on the west side, how to deliver more affordable housing. Maybe start with you, Jason.
Yeah, one of the things that is so important to me with this question is to your point about affordable housing and just some of the challenges that we experience on a day-to-day basis. This is a big part of my lived experience. A big reason why I ended up going into the military is my family suffered through financial hardships. We were evicted from our home of 16 years because we couldn't keep up with our mortgages. And it's the only home my mother has ever owned. And I'm thankful to be a homeowner in Mechanicsville, and I'm thankful that my mother lives in the house that I own in Gwinnett County. And I'm glad that I've been able to pay that forward. And so affordable housing is something that's been near and dear to my heart for a long time. One of the unique challenges that we have here in Atlanta, and one of the unique opportunities that we have here in Atlanta, I think we have a housing shortage. We have a lot of people who want to live in Beltline communities, who want to live in downtown communities and live in communities with nice parks and communities that are walkable, but we don't have enough housing. And either through land use policies from the 60s and 70s, which has limited our ability to build naturally occurring affordable housing, or through I think the fact that we have so much publicly owned land across the city. I think it's something like 877 acres that has just been sitting vacant. We tore down our housing projects and haven't fully rebuilt what we used to have all contributed to this housing shortage issue. And that's something that I've been fighting for a long time in my home community in Mechanicsville. In my neighborhood alone, we have 27 acres of publicly owned land. Some of it's owned by Atlanta Housing Authority. Some of it's owned by the Atlanta Fulton County Recreation Center. They sold the properties for Turner Field, but in the Mechanicsville side, it's still surface parking lots. So there's opportunities to get more housing online, and I think that's how we can help address the affordable housing issue in that way. But we also have to have incentives for developers to have more set-asides for affordable units. We have to have programs for renters so that they can have the ability to keep rents low, but also have job opportunities so they can afford the rising rents as well. Yeah. And this is all to say that is no one policy is going to solve this affordable housing issue. We have to have market-based solutions. We have to have subsidies. We have to have incentives. And all these are going to work in tandem to help make sure that we can keep Atlanta affordable for more people. But we have to act now because people are leaving every single day.
Well, I appreciate about your point about the public land. So example, in English Avenue, there was a small multifamily that Invest Atlanta had purchased. It was vacant. And we were willing to develop it for, deep affordability, meaning people earning $45,000 and less. But obviously for us to do that with the money we're raising, if the land can come free, because then people that we're raising funds from want to know that their funds are being leveraged. Like if the city were to sell us something and be like, what? We're trying to, but under Mayor Bottoms with, the CEO of Invest Atlanta, Eloisa, we get a $1 ground lease for that, but then we committed to develop it very affordably. And so that could be, a great model, because you're right, because, that land, go out there and if the city contributes to land value to really deliver that, because one thing I've learned is when you, back to affordable living, we all think about it in terms of how we, in our own day-to-day experience, because of what could be affordable housing to one person may be completely unaffordable to another. So how we have housing for all, is especially important. But what are your thoughts on the issue, Byron?
It's a good segue because, our residents don't have time to really think about what goes into affordable housing. No. And I definitely stand with Jason as we talk about City of Atlanta, Invest Atlanta, Housing Authority, Atlanta University Center, and Beltline, and Atlanta Public Schools, who have all of this land just sitting here. How can we really truly be in the conversation of affordable housing and we're not building? Absolutely. Public-private partnerships to really get this land going, to get people into it. But the other piece is, we always base affordability off of AMI. That's something that no one in the state down controls. That's a national conversation.
Yes, it is.
There's a national election next year. So how do we empower our residents to hold that conversation with our senators and our representatives? That's a HUD calculation. How do HUD come up with an AMI for Atlanta and not the Atlanta metropolitan area? There's no one down the street making the same type of money that people in Alpharetta or Milton or John Creek is making.
No.
So we have to really engage people where they are, and we as leaders have to hold the conversations that necessarily our residents are not in. But affordable housing also comes down to what we are willing to do. You know, there are more sanitation fees sold on the courthouse steps there as taxes for our senior citizens.
Wow.
And we don't look at that. That's a sanitation fee, not a tax. It should not be sold. But we as the city control that. So we have to do something about that as well. But you know, I asked a question some time ago in which I really haven't gotten a realistic answer, and that is, why do taxes go up? Simplistically, if we think about it, taxes pays for city services.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If that same fire truck is going to come to your house, that's going to go to the next house, it's the same truck, same police services, why do my taxes go up on our 70-year-old resident because a 27-year-old resident moved in? Why do taxes go up? And anyone who want to answer that question, I'm here. But that's a real question for us to have to answer to. Why are we displacing our legacy residents on something that we, the city of Atlanta, controls?
That's a very good question. Very good. If John is okay and ready to switch gears just a little bit. So, and I don't know how I forgot about this, Byron, that you used On the Rise Financial Center to help improve your finances. And that was an awesome story to hear. And I love On the Rise Financial Center myself, excuse me. How will you help ensure that legacy residents have the kind of services like access to On the Rise Financial Center? How will you make sure that they have the resources to better position them to stay in the neighborhoods right now that they live in?
Well, you know, On the Rise Financial Center is a gem.
It is actually.
I mean,
really
and that's one of the issues that we have so many gems on the west side, but the information is really not trickling down to the person that's on the street. So that fresh and progressive approach is actually taking the information, you know, to the people. But when it comes to your finances, of course, I'm grown, wife, house, car, kids. Of course, I can handle my finances.
Yes.
Spoke to them, and within, I guess, 6 months, my credit score doubled. Because I'm not a finance person. I didn't know the tricks that credit card companies play in their tricks.
Yes,
I said. I didn't know the timing of you paying your bills and not paying the interest and all of that. So it's little things that they were able to show me that I had no clue about. That was able to really benefit me. And not only benefit me, because now my daughter is in the program. And, you know, I co-sign on a loan, so hopefully I can get off that loan. They're going to show us how to do that, too. But it's just so many things we don't think about. No. You know, because as a father, I was supposed to co-sign.
Absolutely.
But it'll be a beautiful day.
Yes, absolutely.
When that loan come off my credit.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But I can freely speak about that because that's one of the things that we in residents really don't talk about, our finances. But On the Rise Finance Center is actually there. Their help is just tremendous. So just getting the information to the people, and not only that, the anti-displacement thing, that should be a pilot.
Yes.
Why aren't we talking about that in District 4? Or even the rest of District 3?
Yes, absolutely.
Everything seems to stop at Lowry.
Yes, it does.
We'll get to that later. That's another show. But just there's wonderful things on the west side that we can actually share with the city of Atlanta.
And I think that people don't know about finance. Why would they? You know, you have your career or your line of business. I have my line of business. If my line of business is not finances, well, then I would know. So that's why you go to the professionals. But speaking of On the Rise Financial Center and improving our finances, I mean, that still goes towards the conversation of affordable living and housing, because that is how you can own your home, get your credit together, learn how to balance your finances so that you can get approved for a mortgage and stay in your neighborhood. So definitely is a very pertinent material question to the whole conversation about affordable living and affordable housing. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me see.
I was thinking a question about when you focused on the making streets safer. Like, do you have any thoughts about, you know, how the city can improve, you know, transit, you know, transportation issues? Safety issues?
Yeah, I do. I think we need to have, I know the Department of Transportation for the city is very new. They're still kind of getting their sea legs beneath them. A lot of what the Department of Public Works used to do now falls on their shoulders. So I think the city needs to do a better job of supporting the work of the department, whether it's through staffing, whether it's through resourcing, so that it can be responsive to the needs of our citizens. But we also have to partner with our sister jurisdictions, our sister agencies. I feel like as a city, too often we operate in silos. So MARTA might be doing something over here, but maybe we're not, whether it's our elected officials or whether it's our appointed officials at City Hall, are we having the necessary conversations to make sure that there is some alignment with priorities? We're about to go through a huge restructuring of our bus system, our bus routes. How active, how involved is City Hall in those conversations? I know MARTA technically has state oversight, but it's the city involved in those conversations. I want to make sure that those conversations are happening so that our constituents get the best possible services possible. But there's also ways in which we can support MARTA, whether it's through making sure our bus stops are safer. A lot of our bus stops in Southwest Atlanta are just a pole in the dirt. So if I'm trying to get to work and I have to stand, and it's raining that day and I'm standing in mud and my shoes are all wet and dirty, it's not a dignified experience. It makes it less likely that my neighbor is going to want to ride MARTA. So how can we do through public works or through land use, make it safer, make it easier for people to take public transportation? Transit is not going to be successful if we don't attract greater density, greater commercial nodes, or build commercial nodes or housing nodes for people to take transit. So it works in tandem. We have to have those conversations. We have to align our priorities so that we're working together. We're not operating in silos. And I don't think we've been doing that for some time.
So one thing you really intend to do, sounds like, is really reach out to MARTA.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great.
Absolutely.
One thing we want to reach out to, I don't know if Benjamin is ready. We were going to try to take some questions from, there he is. We're going to take questions from our live audience, if you're ready.
Yeah.
So you'll know, we don't know what's going to happen right now. But if people who are watching, if folks have a question, if you want to type in a question into our social media feed, either on Facebook or YouTube, do we have?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and read one for Councilman Dozier. You helped lead a community coalition that ultimately led City of Atlanta to allocate $5 million to support community building efforts surrounding Turner Field when it was for sale. How will you apply the lessons you learned from that experience to leverage more resources to continue fighting displacement and improving economic mobility for residents?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what he's referring to is I used to be a community organizer with an organization called the Turner Field Community Benefits Coalition. I was actually their spokesperson. And that organization stood up when the Braves were leaving for Cobb County. They wanted to say, hey, we want to be a proactive stakeholder in terms of seeing what happens to our community. So we have about 45 to 50 different community organizations, faith groups, nonprofits, neighborhood organizations come together as a coalition saying we want a community benefits agreement. We want not only a seat at the table, but we want co-ownership of that table. And we organized around that issue. And we weren't successful in getting a CBA, but we were successful in getting the city to commit $5 million of proceeds from the sale of Turner Field and the surrounding properties back into the community. The unfortunate thing is that those proceeds are actually about to dry up. The Stadium Neighborhood Community Trust Fund, that $5 million is about to run out. And so a lot of the things that we've been able to do.
Spent.
Exactly, being spent, providing roof repairs for folks, environmental justice support issues, providing, it's usually money provided to nonprofits who are doing work in the community. And great work has come out of that, but I would love to see some sort of sustainable programs that are going to be able to continue beyond just what the work done by the trust fund. So this is all to say that we were successful because we organized, we marched on City Hall, we wrote petitions, we lobbied, and I want to see any sort of, especially when it comes to public development, development projects that involve a huge public stake. I want to see that happen going forward as well. We have active RFPs over at Murphy Crossing, over with the Civic Center. The Gulch is a good example of a recent development deal that's happened with Fort McPherson. So we need to think about this as kind of baseline for any sort of public investment, making sure that communities have a voice and communities have community benefits that are going to ensure that we can address the issues of gentrification, address the issues of housing, address the issues of transportation within that development. So we don't have these walled gardens where, we sell a property for pennies on the dollar and we don't get any sort of benefit from that. We have to think about how is this project going to benefit the community in a meaningful way and make sure the city has an active stake in that's going to help get us in that direction.
Yeah, and I know one of the, you mentioned the Gulch Lake, one of the learnings, right, is it's really important those community benefit agreements, that once they're put together with the community input, that they're actually codified.
Yes.
Right, because I know you can have a community benefit agreement that's a handshake, that's one thing, as opposed to a community benefit agreement that's actually something that's enforceable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Benjamin, we have more questions out there?
Let's see. We got a question from Patrice Daniels on YouTube. Can we add renovation or affordable low-interest renovation loans, et cetera, due to a lot of family homes are past remodeling? We need renovation.
So the question is low-interest renovation loans?
Yes.
I mean, I support it, but
I mean, definitely, and that's just, one of the things, reimagining all of the taxes that we have out there now. We talk about identifying new revenue streams. Just let's make sure the streams we have now are actually being put to good to use.
Absolutely.
Impact fees is one. Of course, they can't be spent in the neighborhood that is being impacted, but at least make sure it is being spent in the neighborhood. So reimagining some of the money that we already have out there, figuring out how do we fund things that are truly needed, because like you say, some may need remodeling, some just may need a fresh coat of paint.
Absolutely.
But it's really up to, like I say, on the local level with the districts to think and work with the current administration to figure out how we move the city forward together.
Absolutely.
Well, also, I was just thinking, in fairness with y'all gracious enough to come here, that to ask of each of you, to be real clear, and would love to hear it. If there's something you really want from the Westside Future Fund, if there's some things that you would really like to see, things maybe we're not doing well, we could do better, but the things you'd like to see from Westside Future Fund. So a little nervous saying that, but I'm going to go with it.
I would just say for me, I mean, I'm still in the drinking from the fire hose phase of all of this, and I'm still learning, I'm still listening. I did a lot of listening during the campaign, but the number of people that you get an opportunity to listen to increases exponentially once you win the election. But I'm still listening and learning, and so I want to just continue to have conversations and want the Westside Future Fund to continue to be open and transparent, and just continue to be accessible not only to me as the incoming elected official, but to the people that you're supporting and that you are trying to uplift as well. I think having that openness and that honesty and that transparency generates buy-in in ways that I think has just an outsized impact in the ability for your programs to be successful. So just keep that in your heart of hearts, but also just allow me to continue to learn and extend me grace if I think differently or see things differently, because I'm kind of coming new into this, and I love our District 4 communities, but I don't live in Asheville Heights. I don't live in the Atlanta University Center neighborhood. So some of the things that have been happening there, I'm still learning about what's been going on. So just so extend that grace to me, but I'll also continue just to be as open and transparent and as honest as you have been doing. So that's my biggest ask.
Great. No, and I think, one thing we were talking before the show I'd love to do is to, give you, both of you a full debrief so you kind of know exactly, some of the stuff that we're doing, especially around property acquisition, we don't put in the newspaper because it makes buying stuff harder, but we want to be totally to your point, and maybe you could coach us on where else we need to do a better job on that transparency. Thank you. What about you, Byron?
Uh-oh.
Well, no, definitely communication. And what I mean, but you said it earlier, things change so fast. So by the time Ms. Vernon has said one thing to the community, by the time she leaves the meeting, it has completely changed. So it definitely that line of communication between the Westside Future Fund and my office to get the information out, the information that we can get out, because we also have to understand is just some things we can't say because If you say you bought a parcel of land for $100, the person right next to you is going to take theirs up to $200.
Absolutely.
So it's just some things the community has to understand. We just can't say at that particular time. But because things move so fast, we allow rumors and things of that nature to take place that we can work together to really, set aside. But the most important thing is to be this thought leader. Because as I look at your board, I know 90, if not 99% of all of them. When we was on the campaign trail, it was this thing to where we can expand everything the Westside Future Fund was doing throughout the district and maybe the city. But that comes with a cost.
It does.
And if we're not willing to fund it, then we can't tell the people we're going to expand it.
Exactly.
So because you know what the pitfalls are, because you have actually been doing it in a small section of the district, let's talk about how do we expand it throughout the district so the district can enjoy it. And then at the end of the day, start talking to Jason, how do we take it to District 4? How do we start taking it throughout the district, throughout the city itself? So to be that thought leader, we're also working together to get the real information out to the people in our service area so they can know and understand exactly what Westside Future Fund is doing.
Well, I look forward, I think, and you mentioned, for those that don't know, Joan Vernon has been our Director of Neighborhood Engagement, lives in English Avenue. But I think, COVID has made it a bit of a challenge, but we shouldn't make that an excuse either, right? We got to appreciate your point about stepping it up on our communication. Thank you. I don't know if maybe you have more time from you, Ebony. Another question as we get. Do you have?
Always been a world-class city, but I feel like there's been waves, and right now Atlanta is it's just it, and there's so many different changes, and the changes look a certain way to some people, but to another group of people it may look or feel a different way, kind of like what I said on the video that we had. We just got to make sure that everyone understands that the changes that Atlanta is going through is good. It's good for all the residents. And I think that's been the main point of this conversation, just to let those residents of District 3 and District 4 know that their voice is as big and as important as residents that live in other districts in the city. And I'm just going to do my part and assist, whoever I can assist, Westside Future Fund, and working with you guys to keep getting that word out, because I feel like my boots are on the ground too. And I'm going to have holes in my shoes as well, because I'm literally there living every day, and I'm talking to the residents. So I just want to continue to do that, and I just appreciate being on this walk with everyone.
And maybe as we get to our final is, Benjamin, we have another question. All right, we'll pause.
Sorry.
We got the signal. All right.
We got one more question for each councilman. What committees are you interested in, and are you open to input from Black financial engineers to help reduce the wealth gap?
Can you say it again, a little louder, Ben?
Last piece.
What committees are you interested in, and are you open to input from Black financial engineers to help reduce the wealth gap?
I'll go first. Just with the second part of that question, yes, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't know. I was on Jeopardy a couple years ago, and I got third place on Jeopardy. And clearly, in the most public fashion possible, there's a lot of things I don't know. But this is all to say that I am open to learning and want to meet with people who have innovative ideas on how to move the ball forward. And for me, transportation and community development and human services are the two committees I'm most interested in. I know Council President-Elect Shipman will be the final arbiter on what that's going to look like for all of us, but those are the ones that I'm actively lobbying to join.
Yeah, and definitely I would go backwards as well. Definitely any organization that want to come in has already doing the work to come in and help the residents of District 3. Yes, absolutely. I need your help. Transportation, community, CDHR, Community Development, Human Resources, and Public Safety. I think those are the three committees that will really touch almost everything that's taking place in District 3. There are some others, but those three are definitely my committee choices.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we got about a few more minutes, but I also want to make sure for each of you, if there are any things you want to make sure of, viewers that are watching, things that, one part could be any support and help that you need in your new jobs, or, you've given us the luxury of asking you questions, but if things would give you an opportunity to say whatever you might like to say, to folks watching. So I'll start with you, Jason.
I just want to say just thank you to the voters of District 4. Thank you to the people who have made this all possible. I'm looking forward to starting on January 3rd, and I'm looking forward to getting to work. And more to follow. We're still figuring a couple things out in this transition phase, but just thank you all, and thank you for extending me the opportunity to serve the people of Atlanta.
And as well as me, and I'm letting you know now, I'm going to end with giving you my cell phone number. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to serve. I ask that you put me to work. But when you call and put me to work, trust me, I'm going to ask for help. So don't think you're going to shoot the ball and walk away. No, we're going to stay in the game together. Cell phone number 404-587-6811, and I will repeat it, 404-587-6811. Caveat, when you call, I may not answer right away. So leave a message or even text me and give me an opportunity to call. But put me to work and be willing to work as well. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks. And I was, reflecting on, our devotion message from Yolanda this morning about, the rebuild, build trust. Jason, you and I haven't known each other as long. I've known Byron, going back to your school board service days. But on behalf of the Westside Future Fund, as we look to continue to, to rebuild in a way that is, honors the community's voice, certainly want to work with both of you, and would love, I was just reflecting if we could come back a year from now and we're talking about something that got done because we were collaborating together, that would be awesome. But also really appreciate too, because I know a lot of, everyone loves to say public-private partnerships, but to really make them work requires trust in relationships, requires people really, sitting down together and working together. So I really appreciate y'all showing up this morning and obviously y'all's approach on that. So thank you very much on behalf of the Westside Future Fund. I'm sure all of our viewers hopefully appreciate our two new council members. I'm sure they got a lot of stuff to do today. We'll let them get going. But thank you again for both for being here, and we'll let you, I guess we'll literally exit stage left, as they say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Amos. Appreciate you.
Oh, you stand?
Yeah, I'm staying. Thank you, Mr. Dozier. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Well, what'd you think out there, Benjamin?
That was fantastic.
That was excellent.
I mean, it's always nice to actually be able to sit down and talk to the actual people who will be doing the work to change the lives of so many folks within our community. I mean, Councilman now, Amos and Councilman Dozier, they both spoke to the fact that, people require trust with their public officials.
Yes.
And a lot of that trust, especially within the Black community, has for the longest been at a minimum because of the history of, discrimination against our people. But also, it's not just history, it's like modern day. I think a lot of times what gets lost in the translation when we talk about the legacy of slavery is, we tend to, some of us tend to think that it's like, that's long gone.
No.
Well, no, the ramifications are literally still happening today. The projects that people still live in today, the slums that people still live in today, are a modern day manifestation of Jim Crow, right? That is literally happening right now to people that are Jeremiah's age.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so when we actually get a chance to talk to people who are public officials, people who we've elected, it's always nice to hear, the commitment and the passion in their voices, especially they're coming from these communities themselves. So that gives a different level of transparency, I think, and a different level of expectation, because now we know that you know what the issue is. So now let's all work together to fix it. So I'm excited to see what these two brothers do in their future, and I'm excited for Atlanta, man. It's a beautiful time to be
It is a beautiful
my
time
city.
for Atlanta. Yes, my city. It's a beautiful time. And to speak about what you're saying, it's not so distant past. I mean, let's just be honest. Black people, we're not different genetically, right? So some of the conditions that we have been exposed to over the years, it is a direct effect of the past, the not so distant past. So if anyone thinks that everything is cleared up and it's all solved and everything is taken care of and everything is as it should be, it's just not true. There still are ramifications of that not so distant past that we're still dealing with today, and we're going to continue to fight, and we're going to not going down without a fight.
And we heard about some of that today from, when Jason brought to your point about public investment decisions that were not made.
Absolutely.
That have long-term consequences affecting, the public safety of people in the neighborhoods on streets and sidewalks. And you think about, different streets that are state highways, disproportionately plowing through black neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
And those state streets typically have people going very fast, no crosswalks, not many stop signs, et cetera. So that was just one example of some of that legacy still with us today.
When Jason said people are scared to check their mailbox, literally, that's me. There's no sidewalk, and I'm like looking for cars before I open my mailbox and get the mail and run. So definitely, that is very, very true, and I'm personally experiencing that. Okay, so if no further ado, I can announce the winners.
Well, I think, are we ready to announce the winners?
Are we ready?
Our winners are ready to be
I think they're ready. I think they're ready. Okay. So again, we are giving a gift card away to, from Goodwill of North Georgia and from Home Depot Foundation. Both of these organizations have been huge organizations fighting the good fight here on the West Side to help revitalize our community and to continue to keep legacy residents in the areas that we love and call home. And so without further ado, the winner of the Home Depot gift card is Pat Silver. And yeah, congratulations. I don't know if that's a Mr. or Miss, but Pat Silver. And then the winner of a Goodwill of North Georgia gift card is Carter Coleman. So congratulations to Pat Silver and Carter Coleman. Merry Christmas.
Right, we know Carter. Congrats, Carter. I might come get that one from you.
Yeah, I was like, and I think I'm going to tee you up. You're about to make an exciting announcement, right?
Absolutely.
But
so,
especially in English Avenue, I know, Byron, you know this, the yellow store that we so there's a store at the corner of Cameron Alexander and James P. Brawley.
Yes.
That the West Side Future Fund, a very historic store. It's a two-story building. But I'm going to let Benjamin kind of talk a little bit about what's about to happen next.
Right, so West Side Future Fund is excited to officially announce that we are soliciting, a non-binding letter of intent for operator of the Yellow Store.
Wow.
In other words, we are working to revitalize the Yellow Store, the historic site, and we want to work with local entrepreneurs to help operate it. So you can learn more about this effort at our website, westsidefuturefund.org/historic renovations underway. And if you have, any great ideas as far as how we can operate it and bring it back to its, full glory, we are happy to hear from you. Please contact us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what we really want to do, and hopefully do this in the right way, we heard from the community. And we did letters of intent to try to make it easy for entrepreneurs who may have ideas about how they could operate out of the store, which is kind of a low barrier for people to come in and give us their ideas. And then we'll hear from those various ideas to kind of move forward. But our intent, once having purchased it, is hear from the ideas that we would then finish the renovation of it, but finish the renovation of it to align with whatever business idea would come out of it. And we're open to someone coming and saying, I got an idea for the whole store, or different people saying, hey, I think I could do this part, so we just want to be wide open to people's creativity. Excellent. But in a way that's in alignment with the desires of the community and honors this really historical intersection.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, folks, we will be back January 21st, 2022. Hopefully, the COVID numbers will keep dipping and we'll be able to have you in person. But stay tuned and we will definitely have you updated. Until then, stay engaged with us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Again, share, like, subscribe to all of this stuff. It only helps people if they know about it. So help us spread the word. And until then, folks, happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, all of them things in between. Amen. We'll see y'all next year. We appreciate it.
All right, happy holiday. Thank you.